Personal loans are on the rise, but they can either solve a problem or create a new one. Tonight, when borrowing can help your budget and when experts say to think twice. Attention, student loan borrowers. There's an important deadline approaching that will affect your payback plan. And are you scrolling real estate sites looking for that dream starter home? Many first-time home buyers are being priced out of the American dream. Welcome to the Watchdog, where we protect consumers, share warnings and alerts, and help you save money. I'm Jen Pachano. Well, you can't go anywhere without hearing about the World Cup these days. And where there's attention and money, you know there are going to be scammers. The FBI is warning soccer fans of fraudulent websites impersonating FIFA. So in a PSA, the FBI says cyber criminals are using fake domains to sell counterfeit tickets and steal personal information. Scammers often rely on a tactic known as typo squatting. They register a website domain that closely resembles a legitimate address, but it relies on internet users to make common typo mistakes. Users are advised to verify website URLs before entering sensitive information and to navigate directly to FIFA's official website by typing it into their browser rather than relying on search engine results. And in Toronto, where many of those World Cup games are played, police made the largest known seizure of counterfeit soccer jerseys in Canadian history. Officers seized over $2.5 million worth of counterfeit merchandise from a warehouse, including more than 16,000 fraudulent jerseys and flags bearing fake FIFA, Nike, Adidas, and Puma branding, as well as 2 counterfeit World Cup trophies. 2 men have been arrested and charged. The police has said a complaint alleged that the accused were supplying products to retail stores and acting as a distributor of fraudulent merchandise. A Brooklyn, New York retailer has been indicted for stealing more than $640,000 in SNAP benefits from Ohio recipients. So the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services and local law enforcement agencies got numerous reports of stolen benefits from skimmers. Those capture card numbers and pins from point-of-sale terminals. So this stolen information is then used in fraudulent transactions. Typically, they're wiping out somebody's entire balance. An investigation uncovered nearly 3,000 fraudulent out-of-state transactions using stolen Ohio EBT card numbers between March of 2024 and January of 2025. And the FTC is now warning consumers about fake CAPTCHA screens popping up while you browse the web or in phishing emails like these. The agency says the scam looks like a normal, prove you're human check, but it tells users to open a Windows command box and paste in a code, and that can make the person install hidden malware on their computer. The FTC says scammers can then steal banking, email, and other login information. Real CAPTCHA checks do not ask people to run commands on a device. Well, we do live in a world with constant cyber threats. Criminals target our money, critical infrastructure, and even our food supply. Susan Campbell shows us how cyber experts are fighting back and how we all play a part in cyber safety.
Imagine the chain reaction if a dairy farm's hit with a cyber attack. The farmer loses access to all of her records, so she can't communicate with her customers. Her customers' information is compromised, and we don't know if the hackers messed with online controls and made milk in the tanks unsafe. Well, then we'd see a shortage of milk at the stores, and retailers would take a revenue hit. It is just one example of what cyber experts are working to prevent. They say the key is working together and sharing information. Cyber threats are everywhere.
States and local governments are seeing cyber attacks constantly.
Every single day?
Yeah, every single day. Yeah, constantly.
What kinds of things are happening? What kinds of attacks are happening?
Well, it could be anything from low-level website defacements, right? Like people are breaking in and changing pictures on websites or saying like, hey, haha, we hacked you. Or it could be all the way up to full-blown ransomware.
Ryan Murray is the deputy director of the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. He says the risk is real.
If you can't go to the hospital because of a cyber attack, people are going to die. If you can't get food, if you can't get water, here in the desert, like this is critically important for us.
That's why the Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity at UC Berkeley is bringing together cyber experts at events like this to work together on solutions. One of the things they talked about is our food.
If we had a
nationwide coordinated attack against multiple big players, that would be kind of a disaster scenario for us.
Jonathan Braley says cyber criminals go after low-hanging fruit.
A lot of the food sector, especially the more mature companies, have very robust cyber capabilities. But the challenge is we have all these small farms that don't have IT staff, they're not aware of the cyber threats around them, they don't have the resources and budgets to go out and buy these fancy security tools. So a lot of it's on education.
Like talking to small business owners and workers about the things we can all do to protect ourselves. Things as simple as using multi-factor authentication to fight off phishing attacks.
An adversary will see that. They don't even want to go through the trouble. They're going to go after the person that doesn't have that extra layer of security.
The other simple thing we can all do is just avoid clicking on unexpected links. That is often the easiest way into a network for the bad guys. I'm Susan Campbell.
A lot more Americans are taking out personal loans right now. In this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa shows us what's driving the jump and when a personal loan can help you instead of hurting your wallet.
New numbers from Experian show personal loans are becoming a bigger part of Americans' debt. 38% of consumers now have a personal loan, and the total number of personal loans on credit reports has jumped to more than 67 million. That's up 7% in just 1 year. Kate Wood with NerdWallet says this is a significant increase.
So this is potentially an indicator of financial stress in that, you could be taking out a personal loan because you have an emergency expense or you're struggling to pay bills. But, in terms of what people are actually using these personal loans for, it doesn't seem quite so much like it's necessarily stretching.
She says Experian found the largest percentage of borrowers were actually using the loans for large purchases where a credit card wouldn't cover it. When it comes to personal loans, she says they are a little bit of a blank check because there aren't really any restrictions on what you can use it for.
Personal loans can be really helpful for debt consolidation. If you're in a position where you can get a lower APR on a personal loan than you have on maybe, say, credit card debt, which tends to be relatively high interest, you can use the personal loan to pay off the various cards, and then you've consolidated your debt into that one personal loan payment.
She says another common use is for a home improvement project because they fund quickly, oftentimes within a couple of days. She says you don't want to use a personal loan for discretionary spending if you can help it. That means paying for things like a wedding or travel. Wood says you don't want to be paying interest on your fund, so saving up for things like this is a better way to go. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
A new survey found that the cost of a typical starter home in the United States has never been higher. CBS's Christian Benavides reports on what's always been a major part of the American dream.
The Valderrama family moved to Florida 3 years ago. Their plan, to rent for a year before buying a home. What they didn't plan, that it would take this long.
The prices of homes are not on the lower end, and we love this area, so that definitely impacts our purchasing decision at this moment.
Arletta owns a med spa where customers have pulled back their spending. That's among the reasons they're being cautious about buying a home.
For sure, the interest rate plays on, do we go in now? Do we still wait?
Mortgage rates are still hovering above 6%. Home prices in Weston, Florida, where the couple is looking, have risen dramatically. A typical starter home is above $700,000. 5 years ago, it was closer to $500,000.
Is this something that you're seeing happen more and more often?
Yes, absolutely. So now homeowners are postponing, their purchase. The prices are high, the rates are high, the insurance is high.
Nationwide, the average cost of a starter home has never been higher, at just under $200,000. A survey by Zillow found that more than 240 cities now have starter homes that cost at least $1 million. California and New York top the list.
The house you could have bought 5 years ago, today the exact same house costs you 80% more overall. That puts housing out of reach for many Americans.
Arletta and Giancarlo say they are still waiting.
I think we've given ourselves 2-3 years.
Yeah, max.
Government data shows that the median monthly house payment has gone from $1,700 to over $3,000 over the past 5 years. Some experts say it makes more financial sense to rent for some people. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Hollywood, Florida.
All right, coming up on the Watchdog, we unpack a new warning from the Better Business Bureau about a surge in employment scams, and it's targeting gamers in particular. Welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Jen Pachano, and we have reached the Ask the Scam Squad portion of our show. And this is where we're talking about the very latest scams that are coming across the desks of members of the Scam Squad, be it the FTC, the County Scam Squad office at Consumer Affairs, or the Better Business Bureau. And that's where Pam Anson works. You're with us. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So you sent out a warning recently to us saying, hey, we are noticing a pretty big spike in employment scams. What exactly are you seeing and what's happening?
Yeah, employment scams have been around for a long time, but
Sure.
It's definitely taking a new twist where they're more like task-based scams or like gamified scams where you get rewarded for doing things like liking or commenting on YouTube videos or even putting reviews on products or sites.
So it appears as if it's a job, but it kind of feels like you're playing a game and being rewarded, and there's, in theory, real money associated with.
Yes, in theory, there's real money, but as we find out, that's not the case, and we've had consumers send tens of thousands up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for these job scams.
So that's what I was going to ask you. How do they get approached by these people? How are they engaged? And then what are they losing and how?
Yeah, the biggest uptake now is we're getting reached out by text messages.
Okay.
Even I've been getting text messages about these kinds of job scams. So you'll get a text message, you pretty much get the job on the spot. But
tempting.
It's of course. And then you make a lot of money for doing something very simple like liking a post on social media. So they really reel you in that way to try to get you to sign up.
So then how are they connected to their finances? Do they have to fill out forms that provide personal information and then money is siphoned out? Or how does this playbook work, so to speak?
Absolutely. So sometimes, yes, they just want to steal your personal information, but a lot of times it is hooked up to your bank account. And what happens is you'll actually lose money and your account will be in the negative, and they'll say in order for you to get more and better jobs postings, you actually need to pay off that balance. So instead of having a negative,
people are falling for this.
Yes. So we had a consumer say their account was like negative $18,000. So they sent a $12,000 payment to them. Yeah.
Wow. So what was it about the activity or a brand or a company? What was it that made the Better Business Bureau send out that warning? What was the difference now versus employment scams that have been around for some time?
Well, it's like a new version of the mail scam. So in the past, you'd stuff envelopes, a very easy task, and make $5 per envelope to step out. So this is kind of an evolution of this scam. And really in 2025 is when we started noticing the uptick. And we have just received thousands of reports on our scam tracker about this.
Wow.
And the payouts are large. So like I said, we've had people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Incredible.
Just on this.
So is there anything, given the volume of reports, because you always talk about how important it is to report, to provide information so the organizations can investigate, so prosecution, all of that can be made. Is there anything that is moving forward in terms of stopping these kind of scams because there are so many reports being made?
The first thing you always want to do is reach out to the way you made payment. So if that is through your credit card company, call your credit card company to stop payment. One of the first things that you should do is report it to ic3.gov, the internet crimes. The sooner that you can report this, especially if it's wired, the easier it's going to be to try to get your money back.
I mean, this has to be within hours of having done it.
Absolutely.
Within hours, or you don't really, let's be honest, you don't have a chance.
Exactly. It's very difficult to get your money back in these situations, at least all of it. So some people have been able to get their money back if they've done it in their credit card, but that doesn't mean they're going to get all of their money back.
Sure. All right. So that said, if somebody's, even if you don't engage with this recruiter, if you will, right? how important is it to report being approached even with this kind of employment scam, regardless of whether you ever worked for them, whether you ever lost money? What kind of information, how does that help?
It's still good to report them because we need to know what's going out there. Because the minutes anyone engages with a scammer, the more likely someone is to lose money.
Sure.
So it's really, it's great to know what's happening in our area so that we can stop people before they send money.
Sure. All right. And how should people report this and any other scam to the Better Business Bureau, Pam?
They can report our scams to our BBB Scam Tracker, and honestly, just do a search online for BBB Scam Tracker. It will take you right to the website.
And that's important too. People can access that themselves to see if what is happening to them rings a bell that is happening to other people, right?
Yeah, we have a new heat map added back online so you can see what's actually happening in your community, which I think is so important so we can protect each other.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you.
All right, the Save Student Loan Plan is ending, and millions of borrowers will have to make a new choice. Next, what happens if you do nothing and how to compare your repayment options. A new warning for millions of student loan borrowers. The popular Save repayment plan is ending July 1st after a court ruling, and it's time to pick a new plan. In this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa talks to an expert about everything you need to know.
Starting July 1st, the 7.5 million people enrolled in the Save student loan repayment plan will have 90 days to pick a new plan. Robert Farrington, the founder of the College Investor, says this is part of a court settlement agreement, and emails will be sent out on July 1st to everyone who is currently on the Save plan.
Borrowers that don't pick a new repayment plan will be moved to the standard repayment plan, so payments will be due one way or another in October or so of 2026. Of course, if borrowers don't start making payments when they default into the standard plan, they move down the path of delinquency and default.
Barrington says studentaid.gov has put a banner at the top of the website warning about this change. The loan servicers all have notices when you log in, so borrowers need to log in and check with their loan servicer and make sure their contact information is updated.
But it's also the time to run the numbers. You need to know what your payment will be under these repayment plans. You really have just a couple options. The options are the standard repayment plan, which of course pays off your student loans. You have the IBR, income-based repayment plan, which will set your monthly payment between 10 to 15% of your discretionary income.
And if you do wait until July, the new repayment assistance plan launches, which will base your payment from $10 a month up to 10% of your adjusted gross income for earners that have more than $100,000 in adjusted gross income. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Now it's time for our recall roundup. We begin with this Nara Organics infant formula recalled for botulism risks. The FDA says they're in the early stages of this investigation, and further testing by FDA and state partners is underway in a multi-state outbreak of 3 confirmed or suspected infant botulism illnesses. Now, it was distributed nationally across Target retail stores, Target.com and Nara.com between July of 2025 and this month. Ford Motor Company is recalling more than 255,000 Ford Focus vehicles due to an increased risk of a crash. Now, this applies to 2012 through 2018 Focus vehicles previously repaired incorrectly. Impacted owners should take their vehicle to a Ford or Lincoln dealer to have software updated to remedy this issue. And the Consumer Product Safety Commission says Hazlitt 7-drawer dressers were recalled due to a risk of serious injury or death from tip over and entrapment. We see this quite a bit, unfortunately. The CPSC says the recalled dressers are unstable if they're not anchored to the wall, posing a tip over and entrapment hazard that can result in serious injuries or death to children. The dressers violate the mandatory safety standards as required by the Sturdy Act. There were about 3,000 units that have been recalled. Well, that's it for this episode of The Watchdog here on 19 News Plus. Every week, we bring you the latest scam alerts, fraud reports, recalls, and trending consumer news. It's each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Now, if you want to watch some previous Scam Squad stories, you can find those on cleveland19.com under the News tab. I'm Jen Pachano. Thanks, everybody, for watching.